Iron Fist Season 1 Finale, Dragon Plays with Fire. This is the final episode of the first season of the last Defender series, and I think it was kind of okay. The action, there really wasn't any action whatsoever. I felt like there wasn't really action. It was like, people shot at each other, but I don't count that as action, just somebody shooting at somebody else. Technically, there was like one actual kind of action sequence, and that was like the little part that Colleen had when she like first goes up the stairs. And I guess technically there are like three little parts, because Danny does fight somebody. He fights somebody like on his way up, I believe. If I'm remembering right, he fought somebody like going on his way up, and Colleen fights the two guys in the little corner of the hallway. And then Danny does like that really cool part that kind of should have been in like every other time he ever used the Iron Fist, where he hits the ground and it's like, it's like he broke gravity or something. Everything just flew up into the air, and all the glass around the whole floor just explodes outward, or at least most of it does in this like immediate vicinity. And that looked really great. Like everything was destroyed. There's a bunch of particle effects and stuff, and I was like, this looks really sweet. So I wish we saw more of that throughout the season. But the episode in general was fine. It kind of did exactly what I expected. And I was curious, were they going to kill Harold off, because he seemingly the last villain. They got rid of Bakuto in the last episode so that he could possibly make his return in the future, and Harold would be kind of the last one. So they do end up killing him off, but there's still that struggle of Danny and his anger and stuff. And I thought for sure that he would focus his anger, and that's how he would realize he would like control his anger. But he kind of did exactly what he was doing the whole time, except he didn't bury it, he just got rid of it, which I feel like should have been what it was to begin with. If it's really like kung fu and chi and all that stuff, it's like it should have been that you focus on not repressing it, but getting rid of the hatred. But it is a very, very thin line of doing, two different things. So he was very close to doing what he'd always been doing anyway, what he was taught to do, except he didn't repress it, he just let it go. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's simple. He got rid of it. And that was it. So he gets rid of his hatred at the end as he's dealing with Harold, who went through the processes of lying to his daughter, being busted by his daughter, trying to lie to her again, beating his son over the head. Or I shouldn't say beating, he just hit him over the head really, really hard. I thought for sure with all that blood splatter in the back of his head, I was like, oh crap, I think they just killed Ward off. Like, he dragged him from one room to the other and he didn't wake up. I was like, uh-oh, I don't know if he made it out of this one, but fortunately, he survived that outcome. And so as they were going through this plan, Danny was like, well, I have to get rid of Harold. Like, he is that thing now. It's no longer Madame Gao, who we actually see in this episode in two different segments, which is cool. But it's no longer Madame Gao that's his main target. It's Harold who he has to get rid of in order to kind of defeat the hatred within himself. And it's like, well, you can't do that, because then you'll never be the Iron Fist you're meant to be. So Colleen was the one who thought she had to do it. And when it all comes down to it, Ward ends up getting the moment to get rid of his father. And I thought, if anyone deserved it, well, maybe Danny. Yeah, but, there are the conflicting things there. But yeah, I felt Ward deserved it. And Danny did, but that just, like they said, that just wouldn't really be true to him as a person. And he couldn't be the Iron Fist like he wanted to be. So there were, two conflicting things for him. But if there was a person, right under Danny, it's definitely Ward. So he got that opportunity. He shoots his father before Danny ends up being shot. Although he does block the first bullet with his fist, which is pretty cool. But he shoots him, he falls off the building, and that's it. And, in between that, we have, like I said, the cool moment where Danny hits the ground, and that's kind of what separates everybody. And we have Harold trying to taunt Danny about his parents and stuff, and how he wanted to kill his dad when they, first stepped on the roof and stuff like that, before the building even opened and before Danny was even born. And I was like, he was my friend, but I just had that urge just to get rid of him and stuff. And, Danny's trying to fight that rage. He's like, this whole episode, I think he was actually crazier in this one than he had been, the whole season. There were a bunch of different times where he's having his little, I gotta kick somebody's butt face, and all the flashes and stuff like that. So it was interesting, watching that kind of get doubled in this episode as the last episode compared to the other ones where it would be one scene or something. One thing that really stood out to me during their little rooftop chase, hide and seek sequence, is that Danny got one up on him, and he did a kick or a backflip kick or something like that, or a front flip kick, and he knocked Harold down, and then he took off running, and I was like, what? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why didn't he take the gun and like throw it off the rooftop or separate it? Because he knows how to do that. He knows how to like separate guns and everything when he was in that fight with whoever he was fighting, like the military guys. But he didn't think like, oh, I just knocked him on his back. The gun wasn't in Harold's hand either. They show it, and like Harold has to get up, and he looks over and is like, oh, there's the gun, and he picks it up, and I was like, he knew how to undo a gun in the middle of a fight, but he didn't think to just like, not, this dude's on his back. Let me just get this gun and just separate the parts, or just take out the clip and pull the chamber back to get rid of that one bullet, and just flip the clip off the building, and then just take the one bullet too, or just hold on to them both. I don't know. But he does the flip, knocks him on his back and everything, and he just takes off running. And then Harold's able to just get up and pick the gun up. And then it's still really intense because Harold has the gun still. And I'm like, that would have been done like halfway through if he just was like, oh, done. Like, he doesn't have the gun anymore. He can fight him now. And I just thought that was really stupid. Like, why did they put that in there where he knocked him on his back and then instantly took off? And it was just like, wow, that was really dumb. That really bugged me. I was like, that just didn't make any sense why that played out that way. But he goes through the fight, or through the little chase sequence, and Danny sees Harold kind of as the second embodiment of the dragon that he faced in the cave. And I thought that was pretty cool. He sees the lights, and it's like the red eyes of the dragon. And he's like, I'm done hating you, or whatever it is that you are. And that was it. And that's how he gets rid of his hatred, and how he becomes one with his chi or whatever, and he's able to use the Iron Fist to block the bullet before Harold gets knocked off the building. Things seem to kind of go back to normal. They're able to set everything right. They get proof. Jerry helps them out a bit, and the two of them, Ward and Danny, end up cremating Harold's body so that, of course, he can't come back to life. Even though they play like the theme as if his hand was gonna like pop up against the screen as he comes back to life and he's like burning alive or something. But cuts to the next scene. We see Colleen and Claire actually training still, and Danny shows up. He's like, I'm gonna go back to Kunlun. Claire goes off to kind of wait to show up in the Defenders, I'm sure. And so Danny actually talks with Colleen, and he says, I actually want you to come back with me to Kunlun, because they kind of have each other now. So that's where they end up going. And then it's just the ending part of the episode. Ward goes through the elevator, things are better, and he looks to the right, and it's his picture in his father's place, and it's Danny's picture in his father's place. So things are much better. He has the company now, and he still has that picture of his father. But he's by himself, because we don't know where Joy is. And that's when we get to see Joy. She's in France, and she's talking with Davos. Somehow they ended up with each other. And so he's like, Danny has to be removed, and she's like, of course, removed. She's like, I don't know how many times that's come up where someone doesn't want someone to die, and then someone else is like, you do mean arrest or get rid of, right? Like, even in this episode, they say, like, Ward says that specifically, like, we have him get rid of my dad or whatever. Although I'm sure he didn't care that much if his dad died, lived or died. But it's happened so many times where someone says, like, get rid of someone or deal with them, and they're like, just so we're clear, you mean arrest or prove that they're guilty, right? It's like, no, we mean kill. Like, that's happened like 4 or 5 times in the season. And in this case, Joy agrees, which makes no sense to me. I mean, this is another really random, dumb thing. And this affects, like, the whole second season or whatever they're going to do when it focuses solely on Iron Fist again, because it made no sense. Like, I get Davos doing it because he would have, like, this sheer rage. I mean, they even have a fight. Like, it's my best friend. He took off. He left my people. He stole what I felt was my birthright. And he left me behind. He left my people behind. It was all without a word. He just took off one day. So I get why he would do that. Like, they came to blows. He would, even when he had the freedom to do whatever he wanted, he wouldn't kill the hand. Like, he was right in front of Bakudo, and he just still wouldn't do it. So there are a lot of things for Davos where I'm like, I get why he turned on Danny and try to get rid of him. Although, like I said, I don't really know everything about the Iron Fist, and if the Iron Fist dies, does the spirit go back to the dragon, like I mentioned before? So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I was like, for Davos, that makes sense. I get that. I get why he would want to do that. But for Joy, I'm like, that's dumb to me. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Everything that happened in this last episode, she knows that Danny was set up by her father. she knows that Ward was actually telling the truth. She still didn't know about the whole immortality thing and like him having died once already and stuff like, or him having technically died a second time already. So she didn't know that part, but still, she knew that Danny was set up. She knew that Ward was trying to help her and was actually telling the truth about what their father was up to. And then somehow it comes down to Danny screwed up our lives when he came back to life, as if none of that had to do with her father specifically setting literally everything in motion. And I understand, of course, she doesn't know that part either. Like Ward didn't know either, that it was their father that technically really set all this stuff in motion because he, tried to have all of them killed. But even without that, knowing that their father faked his own death, that he's dealing with the Hand, like this weird supernatural organization, that he, well, like I said, she doesn't know he set everything in motion, but setting up Danny, working with the Hand, being crazy to the point that Ward is driven crazy, and then realizing like, oh crap, my brother seemed crazy, but he was telling the truth when she goes and talks to him. And when she leaves, she sees Ward and she doesn't say anything. And I thought, that works for that moment where she's just in like this weird state of mind where it's like, I don't want to talk with anyone. But then she took off and went to France, and then it becomes, I want to kill Danny, or I'm at least listening to the idea of someone killing Danny now in order for things to be corrected, which of course if she just stuck around or did something normal, like talk to the person that was actually being, tricked or treated wrong, as in Danny as well as her brother, she would have figured out everything was solved. Like her dad is dead, sucks for him, but the company is back to normal and everything's all good. But she took off, and then somewhere between the truth and sitting down with Davos, it's almost like she absorbed all of his hatred, and then they were both like, yeah, let's kill Danny, because that makes sense. So I thought that was really stupid. Madame Gao was there, so I don't know what she's going to do there, but she looked cool. It was cool just to see Madame Gao, and she just takes her to the sip, and then she just smiles like, let's see how this plays out. So I thought that was cool just because she was there, but I hated the fact that, for some idiotic reason, Joy went from all the stuff she did in the beginning, and granted it was the beginning where she wanted to help him, to the very end where she learned the truth. Like if she left before anything happened, like if she was in the hospital and she just took off, which that would have been dumb too, but if she literally just took off and it was like, Ward is crazy and my dad didn't set up Danny, all this stuff, none of this stuff came to light whatsoever, I'd be like, you know what? I still think it's a little extra because all of a sudden she's cool with somebody dying just because, I don't know, now she's mad enough. It didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, things were really bad a long time ago, but she still seemed to be cool with all this other crap that was happening. Like, it was Ward who brought Bakudo in, so that really wasn't Danny's fault. It was their father's, which that part she knew. She found out the truth about Danny being set up and all this extra stuff, and she still got to the conclusion that he was the main problem. And I'm like, that just is illogical. She knows way too many facts for that to be her outcome after all this extra crap where it's like, oh, we can't kill this person or we can't do this. She's kind of like basically on the side of the villains. She did the same thing as Claire, where it was like, we can't kill these people or we can't kill anyone, we just arrest them or prove this specific thing. They were both doing the same thing for the heroes and the villains, and then she kind of just shifts to actually being a villain at the end, like, we should kill this person, or at least I'll listen to the prospect of someone being killed. And it's just like, that is dumb to me. So I just thought that was dumb. I feel like there's no possible way around it. That doesn't make any sense. She knew way too much for that to be a logical next step for me. Like, the last truth she found out was her father was the bad guy, and then it's like, Danny's fault. Sure. So that was just stupid. And then we get to the actual end of the season. And this is like the one thing that I thought was cool as a cliffhanger. I was like, how is this going to end? What are they going to do for a cool cliffhanger? And it's a great explanation as to why Danny wouldn't be able to go back to Kunlun. Because when he said that, I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, because Iron Fist is never in Kunlun. Like, that's why he's a character, because he's actually with other people. So I'm like, okay, he's going back. How's this going to play out? He gets there. There's, of course he sees blood, and then he ends up seeing members of the Hand. And then they look at where the monastery was supposed to be, and it's gone. And it's not like just the monastery is gone. It's literally like someone created a portal on the mountain, and it just carved out this big piece of the mountain, and it was just like, gone. So who knows what the F that is. I mean, maybe this thing can teleport, because I mentioned before that it seemed like the Iron Fist that they showed from like that really old black and white piece was in a totally different location than like some ice mountains. It looked like he was just in a forest somewhere with leaves on the ground. So maybe they can actually do that, and that's what happened. Like too many members of the Hand got in, and they're like, "All right, we got to get the heck out of here." Boop! And they just took the mountain with them and just left. But that was actually a cool way to end it. I was like, "All right, that has me interested." You know, I would assume it's Bakudo. So, you know, there's some elements there for Colleen having gone back and, you know, being with Danny as he discovers this. Of course, Davos doesn't know this because apparently the gate is open for a super long time. And I mentioned that before, like, I wonder how long the gate is open. It must be open for a super long time because Davos somehow ran into Joy and they're just relaxing, like sipping tea or whatever in France. And I'm like, he must have a buttload of time if he's just chilling with her. Like, you know what? I'm just going to sit with you in France, talk about this, and come up with a plan to kill Danny, which means we have to find Danny, which he may be in New York, which he's not. So we have time to go across the planet and come back with more than enough time, I guess. I don't know. It made it seem like the gate is open for a super long time. Maybe it's open the whole year, and that, you know, it's a 15-year gap in between, but when it's open, it's like the whole year or something, because he was just relaxing at that point. So, you know, cool actual way to end it as far as the final cliffhanger. But the stuff they showed off as far as, I guess, part one of the cliffhangers with Joy and Davos, it made sense, half of it, because I'm like, yeah, Davos, I understand that. He'd want to get rid of him. It's gotten to the point where, you know, they literally fought. It makes sense that he, as someone who's basically just indoctrinated to be like, you're not supposed to feel anything, but as human beings we do, it makes sense that he would go to such a harsh decision like that. Joy, on the other hand, it doesn't make so much sense. So that part was just like, alright, I'm curious. I'm still excited to see it, mostly because Madame Gao was there, and I'm curious to see what Davos and Joy end up doing. Like, is Madame Gao going to team up with them and use her little rogue section of the Hand to help them get rid of Danny? Or what? Because her whole thing was, she was acting like she was willing to let Danny live whatever life he wanted. And that wasn't necessarily true because she never seemed to do that anyway. But it's just like, alright, I don't know where this is headed, but let's see where it goes. Still thought it was dumb, though it didn't make any sense. Second cliffhanger, the actual ending, I thought that was cool. So I'm very excited to see what they do with that. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know if they'll decide to like cancel the second season based off of how this season went, as far as even outside of the controversy. I mean, of course, it had the whole controversy just as a white actor being the main character and all that. But even outside of that, it's just the show not getting the, you know, the greatest of reviews. So I'm sure they'll still do a second season, and maybe they'll figure it out. I mean, honestly, that's all we can hope for at this point, because they're gonna want to tell this story, and I don't know exactly how it's gonna play out. So if maybe they'll do all of this in the Defenders, because like I said before, I don't want to know what they're doing exactly, but I think I kind of want to look it up now just to see, is the Defenders going to basically be Iron Fist Season 2, where they're really just dealing with the Hand? Or, you know, what are they going to be dealing with? So I assume that that's what's going to be taking place, is the Hand or something like that. But, you know, then there's all these other elements, like going into Luke Cage Season 2, are they going to do Heroes for Hire? Because that's Luke Cage and Iron Fist. And then, if that's not the case, when are we going to get that? That would have to be, I guess, Season 3 of Luke Cage, because then Iron Fist would be dealing with the Hand and finding the monastery in Kunlun, you know, on his own, so, or at least with Colleen. So it's just a lot of questions up in the air right now, because I haven't looked into exactly what we're getting from the Defenders. But ultimately, it was an okay season. The second half is actually much better than the first half. Like, if the second half was the entire season, I don't think this would get such bad reviews. It's just that first half really is kind of boring. The action kind of sucks. That's just plain and simple. There's some cool fight scenes, and I've mentioned this a million times at this point, but you have one cool fight scene, and then it's like, well, that's dumb now, because that one cool fight scene looks stupid compared to when he fought 4 people, and he just flew through them in a boring fight, but he's stuck on this one big dude because he's a little bit taller or something. And it's like, well, it looked cool, but logically it just makes it dumber. So you got stuff like that, but all the story stuff I enjoyed. Ward, I thought, was a great character. Some of the stuff, the early stuff they did with Joy was cool, like where we saw her darker side a little bit, and you know, little things like that I thought were fine. And she was just the character who wanted to do the right thing. And then at the end, she just got dumb, I guess. Davos I thought was fine. He kind of fueled a little bit of what the Hand was kind of saying about Kunlun as far as I was concerned. Like, they're a bit harsh, like why he beat that guy up in the food truck just to camp out in front of Rand. And, you know, he's like throwing shuriken at this dude's head and stuff like that. There's some stuff wrong with Davos. You know, he's not a great character. He's not a great guy. So there's some the character stuff. Pretty well done. I like that. I like the twist with the, you know, when they officially announced that there were two different sections of the Hand within this one series. I thought that was cool. So did some good stuff character wise, but action wise, Colleen had the coolest stuff for sure. And other than that, it was just fairly boring fights. Some of them were okay, but for the most part, they were kind of boring. Character stuff was good, and then even in the first half of the show, it was super, super slow. So that was the problem with it. And I think it picked up in that second half for sure, but that ain't really good enough. You go through the whole first half, and you got like a couple of little beautiful nuggets in there, but everything else is just like, eh. So ultimately, it's just like, it's an okay season. I would definitely put this at number 4 for me as far as the shows. I think I'm on the same boat as everybody else. The action was lackluster. I like the character moments, and that's the thing. Like, you can have some of the boring stuff, because I think all the shows have had boring moments. Daredevil definitely does a lot of talking, but when it gets to the action, it's really good. Some of the talking is tense, depending on what's happening. Jessica Jones is the same thing. The first half, or at least the first couple of episodes of Jessica Jones, is kind of boring to me. A little bit boring. And then it really picks up when Kilgrave comes in. And then for this, it was just really boring, and then it kind of picks up a little bit. It doesn't like really pick up and it's insanely amazing afterwards. It kind of gets better. But it is what it is, and we will see what happens with Iron Fist in the future. But of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about this finale, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts and least favorite parts. And what did you really, really hate in this season, and what did you really, really love? Because as average as things may have been for this season, there are some great things about it, and there are definitely some crappy things about it. So I would love to know what your favorite thing was, that, you know, what was the best thing they did in this season, and what was the worst thing. I would love to know what you guys thought about that. And of course, I want to know what you thought about the finale in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.